It's not quite. There it is. Hello, everybody. Put those goggles on. You are now in the Epic Engagement Adventure. My name is RJ Redden, but you know me already, so we're not going to go over all that. What you need to know is this. The person beside me on the screen right now knows more about guiding people on an epic adventure than almost everybody I know. Farran Tabrizi, I am so happy to have you here today. We met at an eWomen meeting randomly like 6 months ago or so.
Yeah.
And now she's just one of the most treasured persons in my circle. So please, everybody, welcome the Farran. And Farran, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you for having me, RJ. I don't get to do this kinds of appearances often. Okay, who am I? Well, I am a video storyteller. I've been in the video space for over 20 years and started my career. Well, let's back it up. I started holding a camera probably when I was about 6 years old. So you could always find me with, Blair Witch projecting it through my house and on our little adventures as a family. So I'd say it goes as far back as 1990 when I was 6 years old. But as a teenager and stuff, I always thought, I want to get into, I want to be the next Steven Spielberg. I want to be a movie director. I want to do films. And my dad would always be like, oh, he's always practical. And like that, you're never going to make it in that industry. It's too competitive. Shut down my dreams. But I was able to start a small business doing event video production while I was in college. And that proved to my dad that video could be lucrative in other ways. It doesn't have to be big film. So I went off to school. I was able to transfer over to San Francisco State and get my degree in broadcast radio and television. And I chose that over film because it was more technical. I liked the idea of like field production and documentary style stuff. And I graduated college in 2006, which was basically like the dawn of YouTube. So just to kind of put some things into perspective here, right? So, I mean, our newer generations only know having YouTube like from day one, right? So anyway, so that just kind of puts some the timeline kind of into perspective. I went to San Francisco State, so I ended up sticking around in the Bay Area. I never went to LA, and I ended up working for different companies that startup level usually that were trying to embrace video, put video platforms, online. And so I was kind of at the forefront of that, producing content, kind of a one-woman show. I would be doing everything from the writing, the hauling the gear, the shooting, the editing, and putting it up on the web. So that's kind of where I started my career. And then about 10 years ago, I decided to fully leave corporate world. I didn't fully leave it because I ended up getting corporate clients, but starting my own business and just doing that full time. So for about 10 years now, I've been running Tabrizi Productions, a boutique video production company out in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I have a whole host of clients. I've got big tech. I've got small business owners. I've got growing companies that are basically trying to show off how awesome it is to work with them. And I get kind of a backstage pass into all of these different individuals and organizations, and I get the opportunity to tell their story through video. So it's pretty awesome.
Nice. And you said a boutique, kind of a boutique video shop. What did you mean by that?
We're small. Like our general crew is about 2 to 3 people, give or take. I can wear all the hats. I try not to all the time because there's always beauty when you bring in other talent and better ideas that come from it. But when I say boutique, I mean, you work with me from day one, and I'll be at the shoot and I will be the one editing the content. So I work very intimately with my clients. I call most of my clients friends, to be honest.
Well, it's true. I mean, like, who would you rather work with? You know what I mean? And I'm also careful to only invite people into my circle who I want to spend the time with. I have taken other jobs, as you probably have too, and had the undesired consequences from that. So, yeah. Well, there's a gift and a beauty in being small, and part of it's that flexibility, I think.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So what are some of the greatest lessons you've learned from, being out there on your own for 10 years?
Oh gosh. Always just hit record, even if you're not. I've actually forgotten to hit record in some epic moments in my past that I didn't want to admit. So give yourself ample time. Just hit record, roll. Just roll while you're hanging out. Sometimes that might be some of your best stuff. I think also embracing the fact that I am small, that I am boutique. I find that to be a really big benefit actually, because, most of the people that come in front of the lens, this is like their first time doing it. And be it, whether there's a spokesperson for the company they work for, or they're selling their own brand or themselves or their services, like they're usually pretty intimidated about being in front of a camera with lights and, mic'd up and all that stuff. And so I like to I bring all that, but I bring it in a intimate level, in a small, like, I don't have massive production crew. You're not in a huge studio hearing, like, it's just we keep it stripped down. We have the basics, the bare necessities of what we need, you know what I mean? And honestly, most of my clients say that they kind of forgot the camera was even rolling. We were just having a conversation. And that's really where you get the best stuff, right? So, um, I've had to work with lots of different people. You want them to be vulnerable on camera. You want to get to the heart, right? So I find that being small is an advantage for me, and having that fact that I'm, excuse me, my voice is shot. But just that there is the Farran touch on every piece along the way. I can guarantee that you're going to be in good hands, and we're going to tell your story the right way.
That's such a gift, I think, because, if you're gonna spend the money, and especially if you're small too, and you're gonna trust somebody, it's good to know, that the captain of the ship is, gonna take care of you, going to make you look good. I know that for me, especially. Well, and I know that a lot of your recent work has been culture videos, for corporations.
Mhm.
So, how did you start to do that? What drew you to doing, corporate culture videos?
Well, it kind of found me because, just being that my business is in this San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Um, we're kind of at the forefront of how workplaces are changing. We
Yeah.
always have been, and even when I was in corporate world, I mean, there was just such a stark difference from how organizations were run on the other side of the country, or middle of America, right? We were the first to be like casual every day, not just on Fridays. We were the, first to be getting fed your lunches, you know what I mean, and having lots of fun events within the office to promote team building and whatnot. So there is this need to show that aspect in this really highly competitive market that the Bay Area is, right? And now with hybrid approach and you talent from everywhere, you really got to set yourself apart, right? So clients would just come to me, wanting, hey, we've got, some major hiring efforts, and we want to just kind of show off how awesome it is to work here. And I just found that was like the best first job to have with the client. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, you hope that every client is an ongoing client, right? And they
Yeah.
usually are. But this is like the perfect gateway video, because I get to sit with the CEO, I get to sit with the executives, I get to sit with just all the other people that are a part of that organization, and I get the opportunity to interview anywhere from like 10 to 20 people and really tell the story from all perspectives, right? Rather than just having like, you know, the founder speaking and kind of giving us a boring stale speech about like, this is what we do and, you know, this is who we are. I get to talk to the individuals that work there every day and live and breathe the core values. And so those just are like some of my favorite projects that I get to work on. And they inevitably end up becoming repeat because I get to know them. I almost, you know, it also, sometimes I get a little lonely being a small business owner. You know, I sometimes I'm social. I am a textbook extrovert. So there are times I miss. I like envy my husband gets to go to work and like have the water cooler conversations, you know what I mean, or the happy hours. And so when I get to go spend a couple days with a company, like I feel like I get to be like an employee of theirs for a couple days, you know? And because I get that, I don't know, that experience, that really intimate experience with them, I get to tell the best story.
Yes. Yes. That's where the best stories come from, isn't it? The best story isn't the this is what I put out there to so that people will take a look at me when they're rolling by on the internet. The real story is underneath all of that. And you're able to get to that in a way that communicates the real stuff with other people. It's pretty amazing.
It is. I feel really lucky.
Mm. Recently, I know you took a little road trip. Definitely an epic adventure for sure. You want to tell the people about your road trip?
Yeah. I'd love to. So I had this crazy idea, you know, the beginning of the year, it was like March, right? And we had a wedding in New Orleans and we had my husband's 40th birthday in Whistler. We had kind of like capped out on his PTO and money just, you know, to go travel. And we're like, well, shoot, how are we gonna I mean, we love to be on the road. We love to do stuff. You know, we're always out there, you know, going out there with kids, whether it's on a plane or a car or whatever. And so I had this random wild hair idea that, you know what, maybe my kids were both in preschool. One of them about to start kindergarten. He just started this week. We survived first week. And, you know, I was like, what if we just skip the preschool over the summer? I will just take a lighter summer. I will maintain my client load and not try to worry about hustling and getting new clients. And he has the flexibility of working remotely. So we're like, why don't we just go and travel and use the money that we would have been spending on preschool, which ain't cheap, and reallocate that to the flights and rental cars. And what we did is we made a list of all the people and places we wanted to go. We had a lot of people who moved in the last couple of years to start families and they moved out of the Bay Area. And, you know, so I called it the new baby and new home tour. So we made a list and we bought one-way flights, rented a car, and then drove, and then flew out from another destination. So that way we could cover more ground. And we went as far as finishing off in DC and did 14 states in total. And it was an epic adventure. And I would totally do it again. And I decided that as a part of me trying to be a little bit more vulnerable and tap into maybe like what my story is, I decided to write a short series of, I guess, blog articles for LinkedIn called Summer School Dropout. And there's 6 articles that kind of document the lessons learned and the experiences made. And I hope it inspires. I know it has already inspired people to do something similar or to think outside of the box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people thought we were crazy. And then all of a sudden I'm sending photos to my family and they're like, wow, your kids are seeing all of this. And they just turned 5 and 3. So it was pretty cool. I would do it again. And we got to spend time with people that we just could not see for years.
Yeah.
So it was pretty
Oh,
special.
yeah. Well, and part of the incredibleness, I think, too, of this trip, I mean, not only was it like, okay, let's let's take a left turn, you know what I mean? With the way that you spend your time. So it was a big shakeup in, you know, because there were a lot of things to handle. but you also had like a creativity fire hose going on. You had some moments in the middle of this trip. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Oh my God. Like you just need to get out of your normal, everyday, mundane space, I think, to get that spark of creativity. And as a, when it was just my husband and I, like we would do that all the time. We would go in places all the time. There wasn't a lot stopping us from crazy ideas. And, I think for the last 3 to 5 years, I've kind of succumbed to like, I can only do this much, my kids are young, blah, 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 blah. And there was just something about getting out of my house, being on the road. Those long drives would just turn into like creative juices flowing. Everyone falls asleep, and normally I'd be like annoyed. I'd be like, hey, someone stay awake and keep me up. But my brain was just like going and going and going. And ideas I had were actually like turning into like plans, you know what I mean? That I was making. And so I had a lot of inspiration about, a lot of new ideas about my business. And I also had to have some new business ideas that now I'm actually already putting into play. So, gosh, yeah, like I need to do this for myself just to have those moments every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to do this again for that reason alone. It was so. I was also reading Eve Brodsky's listening on tape. Her unicorn space, and I'm like, hallelujah! I found my unicorn space. Like while I'm driving, it was pretty great.
Nice. Yeah, I know that, I mean, you've got so many things coming up now. Can you talk about your upcoming podcast? Because I do think that
Yeah.
I know I'm tuning in. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I just kind of thought, with all this talk about company culture and so many things changing, and I was like, how can I touch more people? Like, how can we talk more? How can I learn more about what's happening in the workplace? And a podcast just seemed like a really natural fit. I want to bring on people who are running organizations, and maybe even people not necessarily running them, but like people within the organizations that just want to speak for like how progressive their companies are. And so we're hoping to put together a short little series and see how it goes. I've never done podcasting, but I've been very interested, and it ties in with one of my business ideas that I'm working towards right now. So, might be a podcast studio. So, anyway, so starting with my own to really learn the process, so I can help people produce, maybe their own as well for the future would be cool. But yeah, it's just a way for me to get talking to more people more frequently. You know what I mean? And just learn, really like immerse myself in the world of, I guess it's like HR, right? But it's just so much more than what HR used to be. Yeah, that's what I'm working on. Was that clear? Sorry, I haven't really had to come up with my pitch for it yet. So it's
No, that's totally
I will
okay.
say what we're calling it.
Can you share the title? Because I think the
Title.
title is pretty fabulous.
Yes. Called Beyond the Ping Pong Table.
It's so beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah, I mean, yeah, gosh, you say HR to me, and I remember the company I worked for 20 years ago. You go into that office, you are in deep. I mean, like, it has changed, and people just knowing what kind of work cultures are out there.
Mhm.
All corporations are not set out to kill you, steal your spirit, and
They really aren't. There's whole teams dedicated now to people internally. You know what I mean? Keeping the people happy.
That's
You know?
amazing.
I mean
Yeah.
that's what makes the world go round, right? You know what I mean? Like people, what's a company if you've got a bunch of disgruntled employees? You know what I mean? Work should not feel. It's just evolved too much to it shouldn't feel like it's the 9 to 5 grind all the time, and it's what I mean. You got to show up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just changed so much, and I wanted to talk to more people about that and have really good conversations.
Yeah. Well, and especially, with the generations coming in, they're no
Mhm.
longer accepting a grind.
No,
You
they're
know,
not.
they
They
don't
got
they
high
don't care
standards.
about it.
Yeah. Part of me wants to be like, pay your dues, but
Gosh, I remember when I started, working for corporations and stuff and really kind of trying to fit in, which I did not, Omaha, Nebraska,
Mhm.
not working.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I remember before Enron when get a good job, keep it 40 years was like still the
Yeah.
thing. And I mean, it's changed so astronomically. And even working with you and chatting with you, I have to keep mindful what's even though like I'm here,
Mhm.
I've got a lady in Tennessee, I've
Mhm.
got some folks overseas in Croatia, uh but we're a team. We're people that spend significant amounts of time together. Am I keeping them happy? Am I doing what I can to make sure that they're fulfilled? And just even having that contact with you really reminds me of what kind of a ship am I running? I can't
Ah,
put a ping pong table anywhere. I can't do it. So how am I going to,
you can't
how
play
do
Zoom ping pong, it's kind of.
yes, doing ping pong. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, so it really is. It's important. Culture's important, even if you are, if you're a solopreneur, it's still there. If you are working with people,
Mhm.
got to think about it. So,
Absolutely.
um,
I have to
gosh,
think about it, and I don't even have people I work with every day. You know what I mean? But I want those people I want those good people to stick around, and I want them to continue working with me and want to continue working with me and supporting my vision of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So there's something to learn for everybody.
there is, and one of the things that I think about now that I never thought about before 2020 is where am I putting my money?
Mm,
Because like when I choose to work with somebody, it's because I like them, because I like what they're about, obviously. But also, I'm investing in those people.
mhm,
If I hire you for some video, I'm investing in you. And I
mhm.
think that people, I mean, it's been my experience that people are much more careful about where they put their money. Have you experienced that as well?
Well, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, and especially when you're dealing with, like, it's a little bit different depending on the size of the organization I'm working with. But yeah, absolutely, I'd say with definitely the smaller folks out there, smaller
Yeah.
businesses. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. Well, I do want to get to one of the stories we haven't gotten yet so far, and it has to do with you and how you edit videos. Can you tell us when you've gone and you've, unpacked your stuff for a number of days and caught a whole bunch of footage at someone's place, and you're beginning your kind of editing process, what's your first step?
Well, okay, so like, think about when you're watching a movie, at the theater or whatever, and you got that intro music and the music that they roll at the credits. You know what I mean? Like, how impactful are those two song choices, right, in a film? So, music to me just sets the tone. And I'm a huge music fan, metalhead. Like, I mean, I really love all music. But so, music, um, also royalty free music has come a long way that you can purchase, you know what I mean? And so to me it's all about finding that tune, finding that vibe. Usually it's something I pick up on while I'm with the client. I try to stray away from anything being like too corporate sounding, and really trying to get that, yeah, that feeling, that vibe. And that's really where like the editing starts for me. Like I'll sort the clips out and kind of cut out, like, label things up and stuff like that. But I throw that track down And then I just like listen to it and I just start seeing like the images and the pacing. And I remember the moments that would fit really well. And so music really is what drives like all my editing. Yeah.
I just love that story, because it just is, you think of video people as people just kind of behind the camera, but like, spending time with you, I just know you're really an artist and that you're using all of the different senses that you can. You're not
Mhm.
starting the video editing with, "Let's watch a whole bunch of this." You actually start with a completely different medium and then draw that in. I just think that's
Right.
fascinating.
Well, and it probably also helps that I am the editor too. You know what I mean? So when I shoot, I kind of shoot for the edit, right? So,
Yeah.
and again, this is again a benefit I think of the boutique video production model. It's like if I'm, if I've got a crew over here shooting everything and sending me footage, I got to go through it and start getting familiar with it. But when I leave something, I've already got a sense of it. I know where things are. And sometimes that inspiration might have hit, like I said, while I'm there, or by the time I come home and I'm sorting through it a few days later. Um, you just get a feeling. And then I use great resources like I'll plug Music Vine. I love Music Vine. They have great music. They're constantly producing stuff. It's funny too. I tend to like there's certain artists that always end up becoming the ones I select. And I just you could type in almost anything and something will come up and then you just start getting into I'll spend like a good hour or two just finding the right song, to edit to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've definitely got me singing your tune, Farran, but you knew that already. Gosh, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on and talking about your story. Everybody, you can find Summer School Dropout, all of the editions. You can find that on LinkedIn, Farran's newsletter,
Yeah.
Tabrizi Productions.
Yep.
Um, and where should people get a hold of you if they need some video stuff? What's a good way to get a hold of you?
Well, as you mentioned, LinkedIn, I'm hanging out a lot at. So if you message me there, that's a great place to start. Or just check out tabriziproductions.com and fill out a contact form, and it kind of guides you, gives you a little bit of what to expect with working with me. And you can check out some of the samples. And usually we just start with having a 20-minute phone call, and I just get to know you and see if it's a good fit. So,
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on and talking to my audience about
thank you
these
for having me.
things. You've been amazing. Now I know you need to get back to the little ones. So we're gonna wrap it up. Hey everybody out there, we're closing down the bot cave for the day, but we're throwing a party next week. We got power networking. Come join us because it's a good time. Totally free event. It's on LinkedIn. And would love to have you there. And you know what? In the meantime, enjoy your adventures. Take care of yourself, but take care of each other. And we're out.